And my name is Ara Brown. I'm so excited that you've been able to join us for this 30-minute conversation around how an advanced degree can advance your career. And I'm going to give each of our panelists today an opportunity to introduce themselves. I have no bias here, right? They're all three great directors on the call, but I am going to start with Dr. Jacobs only because she joined the call first. So
Yes.
process of elimination. So Dr. Jacobs, please feel free to introduce yourself and the program that you're affiliated with.
Great. Thank you, Ara. And thank you, Strategenius, for this invitation. So, my name is Charlotte Jacobs. I use she, her pronouns. Greetings from a chilly Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am the director of the Independent School Teaching Residency, which we call ISTAR, at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education. And it's a 2-year master's program for novice educators who are typically at the beginning of their professional careers. So, excited to be here with you all.
Thank you so much. I'm going to choose Dr. Grimes next only because you were the second person to join the call. So please feel free to introduce yourself.
I love your approach. Thanks, Dr. Brown. And thanks, I'll echo Dr. Jacobs' appreciation and gratitude for the invitation to be with this lovely group of people today. My name is Carrie Grimes, and I am an assistant professor at Peabody College at Vanderbilt University. And I have the joy and privilege of directing our Masters in Independent School Leadership, which we affectionately call ISL. And so I'm super excited to be together today and to share information about all of our wonderful programs. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. I lied when I said there wasn't a bias. There is a small bias here as the third person introduces herself, because I actually used to work for this next organization just a couple of decades ago. Yes, that is decades with an S at the end. So Dr. Furlong, would you please introduce yourself and
Sure.
share just a little bit about your program?
Yes, and thanks, Ara and Strategenius, from me and the Klingenstein Center for having us here. My name is Nicole Brittingham Furlong. I am the Executive Director of the Klingenstein Center for Independent and International School Education. I also am Professor of Practice at Teachers College, Columbia University. And the Klingenstein Center is home of a suite of programs for at any moment during your career, whether you're an early career teacher all the way through headship and everywhere in between. We're also waiting to hear on word about a new doctoral program that we're hoping to launch very soon. So fingers crossed for that. But the Klingenstein Center is home to all of those programs. So we offer a number of different ways to earn degrees and non-degree but credit earning programs as well. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. So I'm curious, there are lots of different programs that are out there. Why would or should someone specifically enroll in a program that is connected to or speaks to the experiences of an independent school rather than just a general education degree or a subject-specific degree? So, Carrie, would you mind addressing that question first?
Of course, yeah. My thoughts around that are we think of independent schools as these very sort of unique ecosystems, which have a set of interdependent parts that drive them towards ideally organizational flourishing. And some of these parts are truly unique to our contexts, whether that's thinking about enrollment management or thinking about institutional advancement. And so I think that for individuals who have really decided that the independent school world is their home, is their place where they desire to continue to build a career, a program that focuses on leadership within these domains has the capacity to really equip them with a toolkit and with fluency around this organizational system that we think of in our school. And so I also think there's a lot of opportunity for sense making with colleagues who are operating in similar environments that face similar challenges, which are unique to independent schools. And so that's sort of, how I think about it when I'm talking to prospective candidates who are, surveying the landscape of different kinds of programs.
Thank you, Carrie. Charlotte, would you mind adding to that? I know that you work with a group of students who are at a different place in their career, and
Mhm.
curious why it's important to have a program that specifically focuses on independent schools.
Yeah, thank you. So the students that I work with are typically at the beginning of their professional careers. We recruit students who have 0 to 2 years of teaching experience. So my program is a teacher preparation program, and quite a number of my students don't have any experience with or have not been to an independent school. So for them, learning about independent school culture, just like Carrie was saying, the context of independent schools and how it's situated within the broader field of education is very specific. And so being able to find a program that aligns with, what you're learning and the program aligns with what you can expect to experience professionally, I think is always helpful and a leg up in terms of, being someone who would then be attractive to independent schools if that's where you want to make your career. So in my program, one of the pieces of curriculum that we focus on is um, acquainting fellows with the history and social context of independent schools. So being able to learn about the legacy of independent schools, how independent schools and their trajectories have evolved over the years. And like Carrie said, what are some of the hot topics that independent schools are thinking through and developing um, innovative responses to the needs of the broader field of education. All of that can be within a program that specifically focuses on the independent school culture and context, as opposed to a broader education program, which may give you more of kind of a survey or a landscape of the different educational contexts. Finding one where you're learning specifically about the context that you're going to be teaching in or that you're going to be working in just makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. Nicole, do you have anything to add?
Sure. I was just going to say that with Carrie and Charlotte's comments, it reminds me of the world that we're all working in terms of an ecosystem of education, that independent schools are not separate from that ecosystem, but are very much embedded in and entangled in really interesting and robust and possible ways in the larger thing that we call education and schooling, both in the United States and across the globe. And so I think all of our programs approach the study of independent schools in a way that doesn't say this is isolated knowledge, but it's actually knowledge that reverberates throughout education. So even if you wanted to transfer later to a different kind of school that wasn't considered a private or independent school, some of the things that you're engaging with in these programs is learning for a career in education, period,
Yeah.
even as we get specific with our particular ecosystem. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's a great segue into this next question because you talk about some of the things you're grappling with. I would love, or we would love to learn a little bit more about what your program focuses on and maybe what is the format of the program? Is it in person? Is it hybrid? Is it all virtual? How long do the programs take place? So Nicole, if it's okay, can we start with you to kind of talk about some of the programs that the Klingenstein Center offers and how they're formatted?
Sure. So I'll start with the early career teacher program, which really picks up where Charlotte's program ends with the pre-service teachers. We see teachers who are finishing their first year of service in independent schools all the way up to year 5 of their time in independent schools. And that's a 2-week immersive residential program, this now in Princeton, New Jersey, fully funded. We also have on the bookend of that a head of schools fellows program, which is 2 weeks deep dive in New York City focused on systems thinking and inclusive leadership and creative leadership. We call it our Inspiring Heads program, inspiring, and because it is for sitting heads. And so that is fully funded as well. In between, although there are heads of school who do our master's programs as well, we offer 3 master's options. One is a year-long, fully immersed program in New York City in person. People typically leave their work in order to do that program in Master's in Education Leadership. There's a second master's option that's more of when people might call it a hybrid, but it's basically 4 weeks in New York for 2 summers, plus the interim years is doing action-based research in their school of employment. And then the third is a combination. It's a dual degree, a master's degree with the Ed School in Ed Leadership in independent schools, and an MBA with Columbia Business School. And that's a program that loops into our year-long master's program. So we offer a number of different programs. All of those programs are require in-person engagement on some level. And at this point, yeah.
Thank you. So, Charlotte, Nicole mentioned that part of the work that the Klingenstein Center is doing happens a little bit after the students that you're working with. Can you speak a little bit more about what the teacher's residency program looks like?
Sure. So iStar is a 2-year master's degree program specifically for folks who are interested in teaching in independent schools and hopefully making their careers in independent schools as school leaders and educators. It's a hybrid or an executive, what we call an executive style program, which means that our students, who we call fellows, they take a combination of classes in person in Philadelphia at Penn GSE, and then they also take online classes over the 2 years. And the core of the learning that they're doing is based on their residency. So each fellow is in residence at one of our 20 partner schools. We have 20 schools across the country, and they teach a reduced load. They also coach. If they're a fellow at a boarding school, they also do Res Life. And so it's an opportunity for them to apprentice being a teacher and learning about the ins and outs of what it means to be a contributing member of a school community before they're fully on their own, teaching a full teaching load and having the responsibilities of being a school community member. So throughout the 2 years, they get to have in-person sessions quarterly. So we meet quarterly in person, and then the rest of the time they're taking their classes online. And we cover different teaching strands around teaching and learning. So learning about pedagogy, learning about instructional strategies. We talk about the history and culture of independent schools, and we also focus on reflective practice. So similar to what Nicole is describing, all of our students, as their capstone project at the end of the 2 years, they spend a year doing an inquiry project where they're researching some aspect of their own teaching practice that they then share their findings with the rest of the folks in the iStar community.
Charlotte, just one quick clarifying question, because when I started independent schools many, many moons ago, when we talked about fellows or an apprentice, it didn't always come with a salary. Do fellows receive some type of salary when they're working at their school?
Yes, they do. So they receive a salary now. Yes. And in addition to that, and this goes into just thinking about the um, financial sustainability of being able to be a student, in higher ed these days. Our program also covers 80% of the tuition. So when you're hired at one of our partner schools, the partner schools cover 80% of the tuition for the program, and then the teaching fellows are responsible for the remaining 20%.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Carrie, can you share a little bit about the program that you oversee?
Yes, thank you. Also, just love hearing more about each of your programs, Nicole and Charlotte. So the program that I oversee at Peabody College is a 15-month MED, Master's in Education, focused around independent school leadership. And we are what we like to think of as a blended learning model. And so students in our program navigate through a series of online courses that are delivered in synchronous live sessions and asynchronous content that you take up sort of on your own time that takes place throughout the course of the program from beginning to end. And that is coupled with 4 campus convenings where students spend over the course of the 15 months, 20 days in total at Vanderbilt University on our beautiful campus, which doesn't really look like this right now, but is gorgeous nonetheless. And we think of this as sort of a best of all worlds, that the ease and access that online learning provides very busy independent school practitioners who we know are juggling, often multiple responsibilities, in combination with the opportunity to spend, a relatively significant amount of time on campus together, building community and building affiliation with the college. We are very focused on a cohort model and building that relational, high trust, psychologically safe network that folks will carry with them throughout their careers once they become alumni. And the curriculum is scaffolded around what we have identified as a set of competencies that will serve independent school practitioners as they advance in their leadership. One thing I'll mention is that in our cohort, we welcome a very eclectic array of practitioners, ranging from early career independent school professionals to mid-career to what we would consider established career professionals. And so we're not looking for sort of a certain kind of leader at a certain kind of place in their journey, but rather folks who just are really passionate about evolving as leaders. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our 2 doctoral programs, EDDs, at Peabody College, one of which I teach in as well. One is delivered mostly online with 4 convenings over 3 years, and that is our EDD in Leadership and Learning in Organizations, which welcomes independent school professionals as well as individuals leading in nonprofit, corporate, military spaces, and the like. And our EDD that focuses on higher education and K-12 leadership. And that is an executive program delivered over 3 years in weekend immersive weekends once a month. So yeah, so thanks for asking. That's a little helicopter ride over our programs.
Thank you. It's appreciated. And what I understand from everyone's explanation is that each program, maybe except for the year-long master's program at the Klingenstein Center, has this executive component to it. So people don't have to give up their jobs, that they can continue to work and go to school at the same time and be a part of that cohort, which is amazing, right? That's really important to be able to do that. So I'm curious, as you think about the relationships that are developed in that cohort model, the networking that takes place, how do your individual programs help the students expand their network outside of that? In other words, are there things that are built into your programs that allow students to be able to get out, network, expand, have a few doors opened for them by being affiliated with what you're offering? So Charlotte, would you mind going first?
Yeah, sure. So I think the at the starting point, because my program has 20 different independent schools that we work with, our students automatically are entered into a network of schools that know and have experience with the type of preparation that our students are getting in terms of becoming educators. So once my students are ready to graduate, they are already, sought after candidates because folks are very much aware of the type of preparation that they're receiving. And then because we work with 20 different independent schools, and these different independent schools also have their own offerings of professional development, of conferences. A lot of our schools are really intentional about creating professional development opportunities or convenings around key issues that are facing independent schools right now. So artificial intelligence, for one. So that's also an opportunity for our students to be able to go out and have access to these different forms of professional development because they're part of our network. And then with the inquiry project that we have at the end of their second year, which counts as their capstone project, we also have our students practice being able to communicate about what they've learned about their teaching. And so part of the requirements of the inquiry project is not only creating a professional website where they're creating a portfolio that they can take with them on the job market, but also they are required to give a 10-minute presentation about their inquiry project, and then also engage in feedback sessions and structured conversations about their project. So we hope to give them a little bit of a taste of experience around different forms of networking that we think will be helpful to them as they continue, across their career trajectory, hopefully in independent schools.
That sounds amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Carrie, could you share a little bit about how your program helps individuals with networking and what types of opportunities that it presents to candidates?
Absolutely. So I would describe it as sort of like two sides of a coin. We have a very galvanized community of practice within our alumni body. They're all networked together in a group meet chat and a database and an interactive map. And so there's an enormous amount of support, collaboration, resource sharing, and networking that goes on there in those spaces that aren't really organized in any way by Peabody, but rather kind of they go on their own through the enthusiasm and loyalty that people have for their ISL experience. Um, we also sponsor and organize a number of things throughout the degree experience and beyond through the resources at Peabody College. We do a big career networking day, which Dr. Brown, we loved having you there this year, where students meet with search consultants and do resume review with Peabody Career Executive Services and round robin feedback through practice interviewing. And so we really want to help folks learn how to tell their story, both through their materials, but also in conversation. And so those are some of the things that we do as part of the curriculum. Of course, we love to gather folks together at conferences, SAIS, NAIS. We'll be doing that in February. It's going to be in Nashville this year, so super excited about that. And then finally, one thing that I think is lovely about the college is that the career services, it extends to all of our alumni. So there are opportunities for one-on-one career coaching as well as feedback on resumes and the like. And so I always try to remind candidates that schools like ours, you're part of a program, but you're part of a research institution that has this incredible wealth of opportunity and resources that you are encouraged to draw upon long past your date of graduation. And so those are some of the things that we're up to as we think about networking and career development for our students.
Thank you. Thank you. Nicole, would you like to share?
Yeah, and some of what I'll share will reverberate with what my colleagues have shared already. But we are part of the Columbia University ecosystem, and so that being at a research university really expands your ability to think about the work that you're doing in your particular program. But the Klingenstein Center was founded in 1977, and we have about 4,500 alumni across the globe currently. And that is an alumni body that we take great pride in and effort in making sure that we remain connected and they remain connected to us. So part of what we do when we're providing these learning opportunities is that we're interweaving the learning that we're doing in our specific cohort, which is itself a place of we say cohorting. Cohort is a noun and a verb. It's a place to both learn with, but also learn how to make community that is supportive of you and pushes back on you when necessary, gives you feedback. But what we do in our programs, throughout our programs, is we also invite in alumni who are bringing in case studies, scenarios, future thinking work, who are networking with the students, providing practice interviews before they go on jobs, looking at materials. So we really see our alumni network as not just people who are out in the world doing really impactful work in schools and on behalf of students, but also as a space that themselves remains connected to and enhances the learning that we invite people to do when they're enrolled in our programs. So that is both how we draw on our network to amplify learning, but also give people ways while they're in our programs to think about how to network and how to build communities that will support them long after they graduate or leave our particular offerings.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just one quick clarifying question, and then I'll give you my last question. So for all of the attendees, if you have questions, this is a great time to put it in the chat. You talked about the importance of the cohort model, and Charlotte, you referenced that the schools you work with, the 20 or so schools you work with, are all over the United States. I'm assuming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, that your students currently reside all over the United States. So for instance, you don't need to be in Nashville to go to the ISL program. You don't need to be in New York City to participate unless you're in the year long program.
Right,
You don't
exactly.
need to
Yep.
be in New York City to be a part of these programs. So you can really be from anywhere. I'll say the United States because that plane ride might be too long if you're traveling
Right.
from outside the country, but
Yeah.
anywhere in the United States to be able to participate. Is that true?
That's most definitely true. And for us, we draw folks from international spaces as well. And so our programs we convene global cohorts. The majority of people in our cohorts, except for the heads program, which tends to be 50-50 in this regard, are majority from the US, but we have a large draw globally as well. So you can really be anywhere and benefit from learning with us. You have to come to us at certain points, but you can be from anywhere. Yes.
Yeah. And
And
for
I would say that's, oh, go ahead, Charlotte.
go ahead, Carrie. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would say very, very similar at Peabody. We draw, throughout the United States. We do have, a lot of interest in our greater southeastern region, but we also welcome folks internationally, in particular to our LLO program, the EDD program I mentioned earlier. We tend to have a significant global population in that doctoral program. And in ISL, if folks can make that plane ride a few times a year, we've had individuals from Hong Kong and the Middle East and the like. And so, yeah, so I would say similar at Peabody.
And for our program, in order to be a student in iStar, you have to be employed as a fellow in one of our 20 partner schools. So you can come from anywhere, but the limitation is that you have to have a fellowship position at one of the schools. So we do have students who are international students, as well as domestic students. With international students, it requires a little bit longer of a timeline or a runway to make sure that they can get the proper visas in order to be able to be employed at one of our schools.
Thank you. And here's my final question. Feel free to keep it extremely succinct since we're at time. And that is, A, when are the deadlines for your programs? And B, are there any financial resources that folks should consider or that are available to them when applying to the program? So Nicole, can we start with you? Then we'll go Carrie and then Charlotte.
Yeah, I think to keep it short, if everyone can go to klingensteincenter.org, we have all of our deadlines there. But I will say for the master's programs, February 15th is a a deadline for the year-long program, the end of February for the 2 summer master's program. And in terms of resources, we are an Ivy League institution, which is really expensive. And the Klingenstein Center, in addition to the financial aid that you might receive from Teachers College or any loans that you might take out, we do award scholarships to individuals who are coming to us. We also have some schools that we know that support students 100% or some portion of the tuition when they attend the Klingenstein Center program. So happy to talk about that with those folks who are interested in learning more.
Thank you. Carrie, would you mind sharing a little bit?
Yeah, sure thing. So I will also drop in the chat our direct link to our professional programs that I've mentioned today. There's a whole bunch of other programs in there as well, and the admissions info. And so we have two deadlines. One is January 3rd. The next is February 3rd. So that's coming up on us. After that, all programs offer rolling admission. With regards to aid, Peabody does offer merit aid across all of its programs. The average award is a tuition reduction on or around 35%, but it does vary. And students are kind of provided with resources to learn about that as they navigate through the process. So that's a little bit about that. And everyone's automatically considered for merit aid when they apply. There's no extra steps that you need to take.
Thank you. And Charlotte.
Yeah, and I'll wrap it up. I also put two information sheets in the chat, and I just realized, Carrie and Nicole, you have to put it to everyone. I put it first to hosts and panelists, so it only went to us. So
Oh,
to make
oh,
sure your
thank
links
you.
go through. So I put two information sheets in the chat. One is for folks who may be already employed in independent school and are interested in having their school join iStar as a partner school. And then I also put in the chat frequently asked questions, FAQs, for folks who are interested in possibly becoming a teaching fellow at one of our schools. So for us, Like I said before, the financial support is that each fellow is 80% of their tuition is covered by the partner school that they're employed by. And so fellows are responsible for the 20%, which this past year, over the 2 years, equals about $10,000 of their total tuition. And then they also receive a stipend. So if you're a boarding school fellow, you'll receive housing in addition to, being able to be at the dining hall, and you'll have a salary stipend. And then for day school fellows, it varies depending on whether or not housing is provided. But that's calculated into whatever the salary is that you would receive from the school.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those answers. And thank you so much for your insight on your programs. Remember, for anyone on this call or who might be viewing it a little bit later, the deadline is right around the corner. So if you are interested, please make sure you jump on that right away. Thank you to our lovely panelists for, again, all of their great insights on how these programs could help anyone advance in their career. I would say, as a recruiter, having one of these on the resume definitely does help. So for those who are thinking about taking that next step in their career, please, please, please be sure to check them out. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you again soon at our next, at another webinar. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.